Oh,
I think it'd be.
what about
like,
startup
can we
week? Startup weekends. This
Startup
weekend,
weekend's coming up, but yeah.
Was it next week? Is it this week or next week?
Let's talk about Startup Weekend. It's
Let's.
coming up on the 7th of June. Always a big event in the Perth ecosystem, or just any ecosystem really, backed by tech stars all over the world. Everyone from the Ammo team. It's usually a prerequisite that you've done a Startup Weekend to even get into the Ammo team.
Yep.
It's part of the culture. We love it. What do you think makes it such a good event for the ecosystem?
I always think of Startup Weekend as like, I feel like it's Christmas. It's so fun. It's a real highlight of the year in the tech startup scene in everywhere around the world. But the amazing thing about it is you can go along on a Friday night with just an idea, find a team of people who also love your idea, and you can build it in 54 hours. And so the goal is to validate your idea. It's not really about building per se. It's not really even about the idea. It's about the process of building something which people actually want, validating that, finding proof that people will actually pay for it. And then you get to pitch to a panel of investors on the Sunday night and find out who wins. So it's a competition as well.
Yeah, and there actually is some pretty good prizes like co-working spaces, food vouchers, like all sorts of stuff like that over the years that have been handed out. So you it is worth the weekend if you're in that top 3 for sure. But I think the best thing that it gives you is actually like the skills to rapidly validate something, but then also getting over that hurdle of like going and speaking to customers on the street and asking them for feedback on something that doesn't exist yet, which is something that you're inevitably going to have to do if you start a company anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's about getting out of the building and in a way out of your comfort zone, going and speaking to people who may or may not be your customers and finding out if the problem that you're solving is even worth solving.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really about the destination. It's really about the journey, not the destination. It's about learning how to rapidly scale and build a business and learning in a way, like quickly figuring out which direction you should be taking as efficient a way as possible.
And we've had some that have like spun out over the years as well. We had Functionally, we had, I think, the Apollo guys as well, invited.
Simply Wall Street,
which is huge success now. There's also the, I've forgotten the name of the
well, there's a very important one called Texty, which was my first startup weekend a long time ago. I think it was in 2015. And this was an idea which a mate, Nick, of mine had, and he thought that it was difficult to come up with responses to text messages, especially awkward ones, and especially sort of like when you're in your early 20s and trying to date. What he noticed was there was a lot of people who would share around a message with their group of friends.
Yeah, like screenshots of messages like from your Insta DMs or something.
Right, yeah, and ask, hey guys, how do you think I should respond to this? And so wouldn't it be, his idea was, wouldn't it be great if you could get strangers to crowdsource the optimum message to respond with? Sounded crazy, and it kind of was, but the thing about it was something that was quite easy to build. So we built that from the idea on the Friday night. It was built by about Saturday lunchtime. We put it out into the world, and the rest of the weekend was actually about hustling to get people to use it. The amazing thing was by Sunday morning, it had turned up on Hacker News, and then it was hunted on Product Hunt.
Yep.
And within that first 48 hours, we had 10,000 people use Texty and trying it out and seeing what the crowdsourced responses were. And some of the messages we had were bloody hilarious. One person was trying to figure out how to communicate with their housemates about a stolen chocolate cake out of the communal fridge. One was, there was sort of your obvious kind of dating ones and things. It was sort of when dating apps were really taking off as well, so it was very topical.
Yeah. One of the first startup weekends that Liam and I competed in, we worked on a company called Sidebar, where it was like, you're at a friend's place, it's getting late, you guys have all had a few drinks, but you run out and you need to get more. And so, you call this number and someone would deliver like the additional alcohol or booze to keep the party going. We actually like pivoted during the weekend because we found out it was so hard, the licensing laws, to like be able to actually get a license to deliver alcohol. So we pivoted into running a cocktail service, like an Uber cocktail service, where you'd like call this number, someone would come to your house and make cocktails for the party. So I actually did that for one of the friends' party, like probably got paid, I think we got paid like over $100 because we just like made it a package or something. put that on that money on the table, and it felt so good, like to actually like start a business, get some money through the door, and like, you know, be able to put it on the table at the end of the event. Like,
and that's a pretty common outcome of Startup Weekend. There's a lot of projects that have gone on to make money during the weekend. I think I remember one group made over $1,000 in the weekend. So if you can actually, that's the best form of validation, right?
Yeah,
it's actually getting your customer to pay for the service you're providing.
Yeah.
One of the other startup weekends that was quite successful that I was involved in was called VeryVote. And so the problem we were solving there is in-person voting in Australia is still with a piece of paper and a pencil and it's still manually counted. And that year we had an election where we didn't know the result for 2.5 weeks because the manual counting process was taking so long.
Didn't a ballot box fall off the back of a truck or something?
That also happened.
Yep.
A physical ballot box fell off the back of a ute somewhere between Green Bushes and Pemberton and was never to be seen again. And they actually had to rerun that part of the election. It cost $36 million. Oh
my God.
So VeryVote did go on to win other pitch competitions and the group sort of formed into an actual business. We incorporated the business. We raised money. We went into an accelerator program. I think we raised about $100,000. I went to Canberra and pitched it to the AEC, the Electoral Commission. And we actually ran that as a business for a while. And the challenge was we discovered that there's one customer, the government. Very hard organisation to sell to, as it turns out. And voting as well is one of those things where it requires an enormous amount of trust and technical kind of proficiency. And as we know, it's still not a thing. Online voting will be the thing one day, but it's probably going to be when we have, you know, very clear process for each individual needs to have their own personal digital ID probably before we're going to be able
and
to do
Adrian Peterson as well was in that team too.
Adrian Peterson, some amazing people who are involved in that business, and they've gone on to found other tech businesses or investment funds, and it all started from the learning journey that happened at Startup Weekend.
Yeah, so like it's different people from the ecosystem colliding. Maybe they find co-founders, maybe they start the company, maybe they don't. But I think that the follow-on effect of just like bringing everyone together like this, I mean, you don't really see it other than at West Tech Fest or other things like that, but in a concentrated effort where you're actually building stuff.
100%.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the common thing that everyone says after doing a Startup Weekend is they never could imagine how much they could achieve in such a compressed amount of time.
Yeah,
it's like a pressure cooker of productivity and getting stuff done, and it's so cool to see.
And then you take that back into your life basically afterwards as well, right?
You do.
You're like,
so Startup Weekend Perth number 20 is coming up, the All Stars series.
Yep.
7th to the 9th of June. It's really worth going to. If you're even a little bit curious, just do it. You'll be so glad that you did, and let us know if you want tickets. We'll see what we can do to hook you up.
Come for the drinks,
and
stay
the
for enough. You'll at least probably come up with an idea or end up joining a team.
Just do it.
It just happens.